The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Yep. So team, we are now live. If you want, we can open the presentation to be under us. Yeah, we are on time. Hey everyone, welcome on today's webinar. As you know, today's subject and agenda is using the social media during COVID-19. Yes, I can see a lot of you already joined us on time, but we are expecting few more participants, so let's give them a couple of minutes to join us. Hopefully they will join us very soon. While we are waiting, I will be glad to mention a few words about us. LEORON Professional Development Institute is the EMEA leading business events and corporate training company. LEORON mission is to help corporate clients and government entities worldwide in strengthening the skills, competencies, and abilities of their people by providing them with top quality continuous training programs, conducting, of course, by unrivaled global experts and implemented by the best event managers in the industry. So now basically that brings us here today. We are all looking forward in a great session, like we always do. Okay, so Tim, while I was doing this brief introduction, I can see that majority of participants joined us. So let's officially start the webinar.
Thank you very much. Yes, welcome along to social media during COVID-19. We've kind of just changed the title just to make it slightly more relevant.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing anyway? It's a very strange time for all of us. Nobody knows what's going to be happening in the future, of course, and it is a rapidly changing situation. There's no doubt about it. And for me personally, this is only my view, but I think for most organizations, for most businesses, it doesn't feel like that it's the right time to be direct selling, in my view. I would love to hear your views at the end when we have the questions and also your thoughts.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you, Tim. We were discussing about this a lot of times, so totally agree. And I can also hear this these feedbacks from our clients, especially from the Middle East, because I'm in touch with a lot of them this period before this webinar, and as we are approaching the training session 10 days later. So I just wanted to to first of all officially open this webinar, because as a project manager, the honor is mine, to express my positive feelings before starting with this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I'm here today to participate in the opening ceremony of this webinar. On behalf of LEORON Professional Development Institute and of course our expert trainer, Mr. Tim Mitchell, let me warmly welcome you all here this afternoon. As some of you know, my name is Nicola. I'm the event manager for this webinar. I will be here to help you in anything you need and to make sure that everything is running smoothly. Before you start, I would like to introduce our expert trainer, Mr. Tim Mitchell. I'm pleased to announce that Tim is one of our leading trainers for our marketing training events. He has over 25 years of experience, in working with a wide range of organizations across many different industries, all of them leaders in their own fields. Team will make sure you get the required knowledge on how to handle your social media activities and campaigns during this challenging period for the businesses. I would kindly encourage you all to write down your questions in the questions sector on the platform's control panel. So after the presentation, we are going to have time for answering them, of course, and maybe discussing some of your ideas, After successfully completing the webinar, all of you will receive a certificate of attendance, so official one, and it will be delivered on your email addresses right after the session is over. We look forward into another successful webinar. Thank you all, and I wish you to have a good and highly productive session. I can hear the virtual round of applause, so keep that positive.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Tim, the microphone is yours. I'm turning off my camera and mic, so take over and enjoy another webinar. See you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Nicola. It's such a pleasure to be here. It really is.
It's a pleasure.
And we're just saying, it's such a strange period. Who knew this time last year that we were going to be up against COVID-19? It's changed our lives. Here I am sitting in my front room near London, talking to you, but it is a real pleasure. It really is. It is a rapidly changing situation. And as we were saying, it's not the time, in my view, you may have your own view, but it's not the time, in my view, for direct selling for most organizations and for most businesses, I don't think. Of course, it depends on the market that you are aiming at, but it doesn't feel right. Just a personal view. Love to hear your views at the end of the presentation. But it doesn't mean that we can't stop marketing. And thanks to social media, we can still do that, as we will discover later on. So a bit more background about us. Marketing Know-how is the organization that I work with LEORON. And you can see, well, you may recognize some of these big brands that we've worked with over the years. And in this webinar, again, I want to hear your kind of views at the end of how you are using social media for your own organization, for your own business. But I hope that you'll be able to take away that, how to understand and use social media during this very strange period in the best and also the targeted, the targeted way. So you can keep your followers, your customers, your clients, and also other stakeholders engaged. I've broken down this webinar into 3 different areas. I'm calling them the 3 main C's. The first area that I want to look at is community. Building and managing your social media community.
If I can, sorry for interrupting, Tim. If I can add here, if you can just share your presentation so all of us can see.
Oh, beg your pardon. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be better. It will be more clear.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
There we go. You can see that. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Apologies. That's one of the things that we're all of us are getting to grips with is new technology. So the areas I want to cover: community, building and managing your social media community. So important, especially during this pandemic situation that we are all in. And then crisis communication. How do we deal with both positive and negative communication through social media? And then, well, there's so much noise going on. Everybody's on social media. People want to be noticed, but how do we stand out in front of everybody else? How do we get noticed? Love to hear your thoughts, your questions, how you are getting on with your social media at the end of the webinar. It is, let's say, a fast-moving situation that we are in. Now, as it's a Thursday, I have no prizes, but I thought you might like a bit of a quiz. I was trying to look for some stats, and I came across the work that these guys have done. Wunderman Thompson, they are a big UK creative agency. And apologies if you are outside the UK, but these are the stats I found in this country. It's probably the same way you are as well. And they examined tens of millions of posts in March on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Mumsnet. If you don't know about Mumsnet, in the UK it's very big. It's where mums like to share and post their thoughts. Yeah, it's a very big social media platform. And this agency wanted to gauge the impact of COVID-19. And here we go, this is the quiz. So just have a think about, for yourself, but the number of social media posts in March mentioning travel, fashion, it went down. We know it's not a surprise that it went down. But by how much? Have a think about that. How much did the number of social media posts mentioning travel, fashion, how much did it go down by? Social media, social posts mentioning community or community spirit, that actually increased. Perhaps not a surprise there, by older users. But how much do you think it went up by during this time in March on those social media platforms? What do you think? And the last question or statement to think about is the number of posts on social media using the words, there we go, I'm giving the answers, using the word community increased by 82%. So just to go right back to the top, the number of social media posts mentioning travel, fashion declined by 47%. So you can imagine it, before COVID, people were talking about where to go, what to wear, but it went down by 47%. Social media posts mentioning community or community spirit by the older population, that actually increased by 47%. But this big figure stood out for me. The number of posts on social media using the word community increased by a staggering 82%. 82%. And I guess it's not really surprising. Us humans, all of us want to be part of a group, don't we? Especially in times of crisis. And I think that as people in marketing, we can tap into our communities, our social media platforms, and continue with our marketing in effect. And here's a question for you to think about. Why is keeping your social media community, your Facebook, your Instagram people on LinkedIn, and so on, why is it so important at this time? Well, here are my suggestions. You may have some suggestions as well. Brand awareness. If we are engaging with our community, our social media networks, people, well, they might not be in a position to use our services or to buy our products, but they're going to be reminded of our brand, aren't they? So that when we do come out of lockdown, our brand is going to be in the front of their minds. Would you agree with that? It's good for search engine optimization as well. People are going to be taking an interest in our brand as well. Again, they may not be in a position to buy anything from us, but it's going to help the search engine optimization rankings, isn't it? More people to our websites, which the search engines like. I know there are lots of other factors as well, but good for SEO. And perhaps importantly, customers, if we are engaged in our own social media communities, customers feel like they are being listened to. And that means that we can tailor our messages, our marketing messages, and then later on, our products, our services towards them. We're listening to them. As I say, you may have some other ideas, other suggestions why it's so important to build a social media community. Love to hear them at the end. Here's a really great example. Lego, we all know Lego, don't we? The popular toy. They've been doing this for a while. They've got a very active social media community of Lego enthusiasts. And get this, they offer a prize for an idea that one of their users submits, if they like the idea. And in fact, the user, if Lego go ahead and produce it as a product, Lego will also give a share in the profits. So you've got a really active community on Lego, people engaged, people being aware of the brand as well. Superb, isn't it? Have you seen any examples yourself of brands doing something similar? Love to hear from you at the end as well. Starbucks, well, of course, their coffee shops are closed at the moment. Hopefully they will be opening up soon. They've got another active, an active community as well. I think they use Instagram, and they are asking questions to their users, trying to get user engagement as well. And it's important to grow our community, our connections. And now, just to give you a very personal example, when lockdown first started, I particularly got in contact with people that I personally hadn't spoken to on LinkedIn for a long time. And as a result of that, I now have 2 new clients just by reconnecting with people. So it's important to grow our communities. And also, our new followers, our new connections might actually be more in a position to buy or use our services later on. Very important, crisis communication. Again, I would like to hear if you've seen any brands who are not doing it in the right way, in your view. Richard Branson, the billionaire, I think again, this is my own personal opinion, I think his reputation of the Virgin brand, you may disagree, has gone down. And my reasons for this is that when COVID-19 first started, he said he wasn't going to pay his staff for 8 weeks. And there was all this negative feedback on social media. He didn't respond for about 2 or 3 weeks later. He eventually did. He wrote a letter, maybe you saw it on your social media platforms, to his staff. But I think by then the damage was already done. And he's been asking, as you may know, about, he wanted to get money from various governments to save his airlines. Again, because he's such a billionaire with an island, he's not, in my view, that popular on social media. Only a view. Really important as well to be more active on social media, as we will see, but also to check information. You may recognise this. I can't see if anybody does. Windsor Castle, of course, and over here in the UK, this happened 2 or 3 years ago on Twitter. One of the major broadcasters put out a tweet saying that the Queen of England had died. So really important to make sure that you are putting out accurate, factual information. Now that we are all on social media, there's a lot of noise, a lot of people on there, but it's really important to stand out. Otherwise, your message, your brand is just going to be forgotten. and you've got to be creative. Now, we're going to try this. It might be a bit slow to load. I have a few social media sort of suggestions. Just going to swap this now to this video. Might take a time to load. While it's doing that, while it's loading, you might have seen some brands doing good PR. Over here in this country, Boots, they are now offering a safe space for victims of domestic violence. People can go into their stores, use a private consulting room, and then they can ring a domestic violence national helpline. Really good PR. It's really helped their social media, and it puts people, it's just showing kindness, isn't it? Just putting the store, the organization in a good light. Again, I'd like to hear your examples as well of brands doing the right thing on social media, being a bit creative. You can post your questions in the questions tab as well, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. As I say, it's still, apologies, it's still loading here. Other ones I'm seeing, I'm looking here at a organisation, don't know if you heard about them, called Time Care. They are an insurance company, and they are offering insurance plans for corona's affected patients. Other ones I can see, Pegasus Airline from Turkey. Of course, the aviation industry not doing, well, having a hard time at the moment, but they put out a positive tweet saying what they are doing to help ensure the safety of their passengers and their crew as well. So any kind of thoughts then on organisations being a bit creative? So we just see if we go in the questions. Do post away. At the moment, it's still, apologies, it's still loading here at the moment. Have got any questions coming through? So just to kind of recap, so while it's still loading, really important, have your community, be active on your community as well. That's a very important point. Show up, be consistent. Use video as well. Really good way of getting or building the relationships. And as I always say that once you have this community, this social media community, it's a really good way of building up trust, which means that you've already started to build a relationship, and it means that people are more likely to use your services or your products later on because you have this community. They're part of your group. It's a human nature thing again. Video is still loading, but we can post the link later on. It is available on YouTube, this particular video. And I want to talk again, just go back to the crisis side of it as well. We were talking about Branson there. Listen out to what your people are saying. Oh, there's the, is it coming up? Thought it was going to come up. Listen out to what people are saying on social media. If you do get negative comments, try acknowledge them, but take them away from the platform as well. But just respond actively, and also to post positive stories as well. Okay, this, I think we're going to have to post the link a little bit later for the video, but a question that does come up a lot is what sort of content should we be posting? And it really depends on your target market, your organization, your brand, your organization. As I say, the most important thing is to show up on a regular basis. But people generally like to hear about stories. So case studies are good to share, aren't they? If you can put a human angle. I was doing some training with a major bank in the UK recently, and they were saying, well, how do we get our message out? It's you know, all we're doing is just selling kind of financial dull products. And I said, well, put a human angle on it. Try and feature some case studies. I think there was a pancake race, very popular pancake races were in the UK, and they participated in that just to give that kind of human element. People like that, stories. Again, use videos all the time. Ask questions as well, trying to provoke a debate in a good way. What do people think about these things? You're just trying to be really a good person. Share kindness as well. Tailor your messages. I think I'm going to give up on this video. I don't think it's working for me. But as I say, I can post the link later on. It's only some examples of some ideas to use. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you're getting on with social media for your own organisation. Let's put this back to here.
Hey Tim, if I can see, I received a very interesting question in the sector for questions. So
Yeah.
I'm again encouraging all attendees to write down their questions. Mr. Tim is going to answer them all. I saw one question was sent from Mr. Ahmed Al Khalifin. It says,
Hi, Ahmed.
how many hours is sufficient to use the social media per day? I'm also curious to hear this information from your side. Because I was in touch with a lot of social media professionals and marketing professionals before this webinar. I can say that I was tracking their activities more on LinkedIn, with some companies on Instagram. I can see that some of them, are using those platforms maybe once a week for promoting their activities, for running their campaigns, So I'm curious to hear from you.
Yeah,
how much exactly is enough to be active on those social media platforms?
It's so. I think there's no right or wrong answer to this, but the important thing is to be active on a regular basis and to kind of think about the stories that you want to post or the posts that you want to put up. Now, as a rough rule of thumb, maybe 5 times a week, but it depends on the organisation who's going to do what. If you're on your own, maybe you're busy kind of running your own business, but yeah, and also what resources do you have? It can take a long time to do a video, for instance. But the important thing, think about those stories, videos, give useful advice, and then occasionally do a kind of promotional thing to say. But there's no right or wrong answer. But I would say you may not be posting every day, but it's important to be aware of what your community, your social media community are doing all the time, and to respond. Don't leave it too late, as we heard about with Richard Branson, in my view. Does that answer your question?
I guess you did. I'm sure you did. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. Is that what you're sort of? Are you fairly? Ahmed, are you on there quite a lot then on your social?
Tim, I was just reading the question in the name of Ahmed. He was
Very good question.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just be consistent.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean,
my advice, Tim, Nicholas here. If you want to continue with your presentation, it will be very good. In meantime, anytime you want, feel free, to check the questions. I can see a lot of very interesting questions, triggering a lot of attendees. So feel free, when you're over with your presentation, just to continue with answering on those questions.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'd like to. Yes, do keep your questions and your thoughts. I'd love to know how you are getting on with your own social media. Maybe we can share some ideas as well. What's working for you? What hasn't worked for you? Love to hear from you. So we're kind of almost, as we were kind of touching on just then, we're almost at the end of the kind of formal bit of the webinar. But just be active as well. If you can be on there, if you know you can commit to being on there every day, do post content every day. But at the very least, make sure you respond to people every day as well. And you can set up these Google alerts as well, just to see what people are saying about your organization. So just to kind of recap then, really important, engage with your community, your social media community, listen to what they're saying, ask some questions, get them going. And then keep building that community as well. Also, on the crisis side, make sure that you respond to any criticism. Try and take it away from the platform if you can. Also, post those positive stories. Be creative as well. What can you do that will get people to notice what you're doing? What positive things can you share? Like with Boots offering a safe place for people, for victims of domestic violence to go and ring a national helpline. How can your organization, how can your brand, how can your business, how can you give a positive angle to things? How can you be helpful and be kind? Because that's what people are going to remember. And when they are ready to use your service, your product, again, that they will remember that actually your organization, they were nice, they were kind. I might go and use them, or I might go and, you know, say nice things to other people about your brand or your organization. So shall we have some more questions then, and your thoughts as well? Nicola.
Yes, Tim. I can see that the attendees are, having a lot of beautiful questions. I will try to, to pick the most interesting, that can be triggered, by the most attendees.
Yeah.
Yep. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was working on a very popular program for brand managers. So back then, we were very briefly discussing regarding building the brand awareness. But can you please, explain more on what is the true value of building the brand awareness while using the social media platforms as marketing channels? Because I think that all attendees will agree with me that, especially in this period, while this is a big, challenge for businesses, especially. The only way and the most proper way, to stay in touch with clients, with customers, is, to keep on track by using the social media channels and platforms. So, can you, explain the best approach for building the brand awareness, with existing clients and, reaching the new clients while using, the social media platforms? I know that that this is going to be, presented in the certified training session 10 days later, but it will be good. It will be good since I can, read some questions from 2 or 3 attendees regarding this. So very briefly, if you can just, explain in details what does brand awareness means while using, the social media channels. And how if I can be simple, how we can use the social media, channels to build a bigger brand awareness in the eyes of our clients.
Okay, yes, it's about sort of going back to that community again, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. And and almost right back to who our customers are, and that's always a good starting place, is to think about who we are actually aiming at. And I kind of always imagine, myself in my target audiences. I try and think through who they are, what kind of thoughts they have, what they do during the day. Try and get inside their minds, and then I try and think about how I'm going to be helping them. And it's so important, especially during this COVID-19, to think about how you can be a friend, if you like, to your customer. And as far as kind of that's got to be reflected in your brand values and and that kind of helps with brand awareness, building the brand awareness. We can go through that in the training session later on when we do that. But it's so important to make sure that, I mean, for instance, silly things like you might not be that active, I don't know, on Facebook, wherever your brands, wherever your customers are. You might have neglected a particular social media channel, but have you let your customers know that you are still in business? Are your contact details still accurate? Those type of things. And then to continue building the brand awareness, that's by posting relevant content that's going to, as we're talking about, that's going to kind of get you noticed, being creative, sharing useful information. We touched on stories as well, always good, human interest kind of stories. Just being out there, just raising your brand so that people, when they are ready to use your service or your products, or buy your products again, that your brand is going to be the top of their thoughts, and then to kind of grow the community as well, your connections. It's kind of a bit waffly, I know, but we can talk about more about this, let's say, in our training session.
Yeah, sure. As I can see, in the official brochure, most of this it is going to be presented on the training session. Again, it is going to be live, so it will be great if attendees, are going to be in a position to join us again. Yep.
Yeah, we're looking at sort of branding and the kind of the brand values, and who your target market is, and how do we actually go about building marketing campaigns, particularly during COVID.
Yes, but you will agree with me, Tim, that you and I, during the working hours and after them, we are in touch with a lot of clients. I'm in touch with the clients mostly from the Middle East. Maybe you're in touch with the clients from UK. I'm receiving, a feedback that the clients are experiencing some challenging, periods in approach when reaching, and communicating with their clients and customers. Most of them are, facing some negative comments. For example, they are putting efforts on the social media, especially in their communication with the clients. What do you think, according to you, how do you deal with negative comments? What is the proper way to deal with them? I have one question by our attendee, Abdul Razak Al Nassar. Thank you for this question. How do you deal with negative comments, and be brutal with your answers, or just delete them and never engage with such negativity or something else?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
This is not the right way of dealing with it, but it does work. Okay. I have seen a local a local restaurant actually responding in a very negative way to customers' criticisms, would you believe? But actually he's got more business that way. I don't recommend that at all. My suggestion, as we kind of touched on, is to deal with the situation in a factual way, and then try and take the conversation away from the platform as well. Try and get try not to enter into the debate. Just acknowledge the problem. Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that you've had problems with, but perhaps would you be kind enough to get in contact with whoever who will be able to help you? This is not how we deal with it. So just be very polite and take the conversation away from the social media platforms. Hope that helps. Great approach. But as I say, some people use it the other way around, but it's a high risk strategy, I would have thought.
Yeah, yes. It's better to do something than to delete the comment. I have another great question coming from Marianne Prello.
Hiya.
Is there such a thing as the best time to post?
No,
are you suggesting any period of the working day that is the best to post your activities?
Goodness me, that really comes up a lot. People say, when is the best time to post?
Yeah.
And in actual fact,
I'm curious also.
Yeah, in actual fact, my view is there isn't a good time to post. But as long as your content is quality, is a quality bit of content, you know, you could share, let's say, something useful, a story, video, whatever, then that's going to create the engagement as well. But you know, it doesn't matter, especially now as we are, you know, all of us throughout the world are connected anyway. People are seeing posts at different times throughout the day. But by all means, experiment. But there's no right time to post, in my view.
Right. Great answer, Tim. Thank you. Just to find another interesting question. According to you, Tim, as an expert, you know, in the social media, especially using, what do you think? What is the difference in the approaches between, you know, are you B2B or B2C type of business? According to you, what is the main difference between doing business B2B and B2C? I have a question from Ms. Subai Schneider.
Thank you. That's a very good question as well.
Yep.
And in my view, I don't think there is a difference anymore. We are still selling, if you like, or marketing to one particular person. It doesn't matter if it's B2B or B2C. I mean, there's some platforms that work better. It depends where your audience is. I think that's the key message. So, for instance, I do a lot of work on LinkedIn. I think that's good business to business. But you know, if you are an online store, for instance, maybe Facebook would be better. It depends where your audience is. But again, always try and think about who your client is or who your customer is at the end of the day, and where they are hanging out, which platforms they are using.
Right. Thank you, Tim. Hope the miss is, you know, satisfied with the answer. I have another interesting question coming from Mohammed Shakur. It says, is it okay to repeat the same post more than once? So what is your opinion on this?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Let's deal with it from the search engine optimization point of view. So if you are repeating your posts on your own website as a blog post, for instance, that's not so great from a search engine optimization point of view. Google, for instance, doesn't like duplicate content. Can you repost content on social media posts? I don't say it doesn't do any harm. I don't think, but personally, I like to just, if I'm going to do that, I like to just change the, you know, perhaps the introductory words around, but I don't think it kind of matters. In fact, it can be the opposite. I kind of just often put a post up saying what I do, and it just kind of builds that brand awareness as well. But again, you might want to. It depends on who your audience is and who you are kind of aiming at.
Right. I have another interesting question coming from Mr. Mohammed Ali. It says, you know, when we use social media, many fake news are coming through social media channels. So how can we trust social media messages, according to you?
That's a good question, and there has been a huge problem, hasn't there, with in the past with fake news, as Donald Trump keeps saying fake news. I understand that Facebook in particular is taking a tougher line on kind of so-called fake news. it's a difficult one, really, and I suppose you have to kind of judge it on each individual situation, and to try and sort of look at more reputable sources. It's a hard one. I don't have a straight answer for that, I'm afraid.
I see. I guess you will agree with me that it is a global problem.
It is a complete,
yes, that we're all facing.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. Let's see. We have a lot of questions. Let's pick something else.
It'd be interesting to see how anybody is getting on with their social media. Have people actually got business out of at the moment? Is their social media helping them?
I have a very interesting question coming from Danielson Matuda. Thank you for asking. Are there any hashtags we should be using for our social media activities? And what kind of posts should we start doing?
Well, it depends on who your target market is, who is your ideal kind of customer as well. And I don't know which platforms we're talking about here. But it's what people are searching for. So, for instance, on LinkedIn, I often put posts up using the word business or COVID, COVID 2019, because that's what people are searching for.
Yes.
So have a think about what people are talking about, what they're thinking about, and you can do some research as well to find out the best hashtags to use.
All right, Tim. If you're done with that question, I have another good question coming from Lisa Stosic. How often, according to you, should we mention the crisis in our content when publishing on our social media platforms?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
And to be honest, yeah. Again, I know it keeps coming back to it, but it really depends on, again, the target market, target audience.
Yeah.
I mean, people know it's going on at the moment, so just try and, if you can, put a positive spin on the situation. You know, with what you are doing. I don't think we need to kind of personally,
right.
You know, keep mentioning it, because we all know what the situation is like at the moment. But just kind of ways of how you can help your audience.
Right. I have one question coming from Ms. Nura Almarzoghi. According to you, do you recommend pausing all scheduled posts before COVID-19, or you're just encouraging them to be more active?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Of course. Ms. Nura is asking, do you recommend pausing all scheduled posts before COVID-19?
Cancelling them?
Pausing all scheduled posts.
Opposing them, so,
yes.
So carry on, sort of, obviously, carry on posting the schedule. Well, it depends if they're relevant.
Yes.
I do a lot of work for a big company that does, they do kind of footwear. So a lot of the posts that we had scheduled for Twitter, we've changed them to make them more relevant to the actual situation. So we were encouraging people to go for long walks and so on. That's not possible. But we've tried to think about, we've tried to make it relevant to what people are doing at the moment during lockdown.
Right. I have another good question coming from Mr. Gazal. What about promoting an enterprise e-commerce business on social media while facing logistics problems like shipping delays and stuff like that?
Gosh, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
And I was involved with one of the UK's largest e-commerce stores a number of years ago, bigger than Amazon, would you believe, at the time. So you want to take orders, you want to promote your orders I think you can be just upfront and honest, can't you? And say, you know, you can place your order, but we can't guarantee because of COVID-19, we can't guarantee to deliver it on time, but we are doing our best. We will keep you informed, and we're hoping to, you know, things are changing, and as soon as we're ready, we will ship out your item, just to keep people informed. I think that's what people like, and you know, kind of manage their expectations.
Right. Right, sure. Thank you, Tim, for answering that. I have another question coming from Mr. Hassan Al-Bargi.
Hi.
Yes, his question is, how do you shorten the time to find out what is the content that works for your brand social media, according to you?
Well, there's it's to keep it. Yeah, we didn't kind of talk about that too much, but keep an eye on your metrics. Use your tools to manage or to measure what's working and what isn't. You can do that through LinkedIn, of course, if you're on LinkedIn, through Google Analytics and the other tools. See which posts are working. I know that when I post on LinkedIn myself, if I post a picture of me just having coffee, would you believe, that sometimes gets more views than me posting a very thought-leading piece. So just see what's working and then just change, well, repeat it and post later on. But yeah, a very good point. Keep a close eye on your analytics.
Great.
And adapt your content.
Great answer, Tim. Great answer, Tim. I totally agree with you. I have a question coming from Badr. What is the main role of social media during COVID-19? If you can just, you know, express the value, you know, of using the social media, especially as I mentioned before, during this challenging period for the businesses. So what is the main role for social media during COVID-19?
Yeah, I think we kind of looked at it earlier on, but for businesses, for organizations, it is about brand awareness, isn't it? Just reminding people that you still exist as well. And you know, they might not be able to buy or use your services at the moment, but it doesn't mean that they won't. And by being active, having a presence on social media, engaging with your audience, it does mean that when they can buy, when they can use your service, they will, you know, you will be in the front of their minds. And of course, as I said before, with it's good for search engine optimization, more visitors to your website coming from social media. And you can also tailor your marketing messages if you are engaging with your audience and your social media communities. You can engage, or you can kind of tailor your messages to them and then develop or change your services, your products to match what they are actually asking as well. But yeah, great question.
Yeah, thank you for your answer, Tim. I have another question coming from Marianne Perello. What are the most common social media marketing mistakes that business professionals, you know, are making by using the social media platforms? What are what kind of common mistakes, you know, are the professionals making?
Yeah, for me, it's as we said before, with Richard Branson, the billionaire, not responding quickly enough to negative criticism. As I was talking about with the local restaurant person near me, although I work for him, responding in fury to negative criticism, and people not taking the conversations and negative thoughts away from the platforms as well. They're my kind of suggestions, but yeah, love to hear your thoughts as well.
Right. Tim, I have another good question coming from Mr. Abhishek Suresh. What are some relevant metrics to track return on investment in social media? according to you?
So that's, I mean, depends again which sort of social media platforms, who we're aiming at, and so on. And it's a really hard one. I mean, if it's B2B, how do we? I always find it hard to measure, actually. For instance, somebody that I connected with on LinkedIn myself 2 or 3 years ago, he's been seeing my activity, and this week he's a property developer, and this week he's asked me to help him with his social media marketing and management. But and how do we sort of is that a good return on investment? It's really hard to track. It is. It's a bit easier, of course, with perhaps B2C. You can see where people are coming in. If you measure it through Google Analytics or whatever, you can set up goals on social media. You can see where people are coming from, and then how they're progressing through the website, and then where they are sort of when they do kind of check out and buy your items. But it is a toughie. It's a hard one, that.
Right. Thank you for the answer, Tim. I have another question coming from Mr. Mohammed Al Hassan. Yes, he's saying, how can I make a lot of people see my stories and posts?
Answer. Post regularly. Have this. I mean, it's really hard to do particular formulas, but you might want to put a story first, like a case study, then follow up with a video, maybe a sort of a promotional piece, and then just keep repeating that perhaps every week or so. It's the sort of thing that you've got to work out yourself and see what works. But definitely put the human angle on, definitely use video, and also make sure you have those call to actions as well.
Yeah, thank you for the answer, Tim. I have another question coming from Mr. Mohammed Shakur. Most of us and most of the attendees, are posting some videos, short or long videos, while we are promoting our activities on the social media platforms. So, according to you, what do you recommend most? Posting short videos or using a little bit longer videos? By longer videos, I guess Mohammed is meaning more than 3 minutes or less than 3 minutes. According to you, what's
working for the best?
Yeah. What is the best approach, for posting videos for our campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the sort of thing that you kind of have to monitor. But I think you have to have a look at your kind of sales funnel, if you like, how you're attracting people in. But yeah, little kind of teasers, videos, in my view, my experience, tend to work very well. 30-second videos. Make sure that you have them. You put a transcript as well, or subtitles, because not everybody's going to be wanting to watch videos. And if you can't do the subtitles from a technical point of view, put the transcript as well. Of course, you can reuse that transcript as a blog post later on as well, so more chances for your content to be seen. And then these webinars are great, aren't they, for getting people in for the longer kind of videos as well. But yeah, you just need to sort of just entice people in. I don't think, from experience, most people are going to sit through. It depends, of course, what they want to know. Are going to sit through a long video. You need some sort of teaser as well, in my view. But again, it depends who your audience is, and that sort of thing.
Right. Thank you for the answer, Tim. I received a question from Miss Ala Zahran. She's asking, what about KPIs? Is there any, preferred KPIs to make sure that that her campaign is already succeed?
I think that's down to you and your company's sort of aims, or your organization's aims as well. You can track the number of users, the number of views, how quickly people are viewing your particular post, but I think it's the sort of thing that you need to kind of work out in line with your smart, your measurable kind of objectives. What do you actually want to get out of the campaigns?
Right. Thank you, Tim. I received another question here coming from Mr. Mohammed Al-Mamari. He's asking why always there are a lot of negative comments for every post from telecom operator. I'm not sure.
I've not come across that myself.
Yeah.
Well,
me too.
Actually, no, I have. That's not true. I have done. I have seen them. Yeah. I might have put a few of them myself, actually. Yeah, that is true. Actually, now I think about it, it's over in just as you're aware, in London and the UK, the internet has been absolutely appalling, and it has been frustrating. The providers have said everything works, and we know it hasn't. So I'm glad this is working at the moment.
Right. I'm glad to. Tim, I received a question coming from Mr. Badr Shakasi. He's more interested, regarding the Twitter platform. According to you, how do you get more retweets, sharing on your Twitter activities?
How do we get more shares?
Yeah, on Twitter.
On Twitter. Yeah, I mean, it's for me. Again, you've got to sort of see what works for you, for your organization, for your business. Human interest stories, pictures, little videos, little graphics, depends who your target market is. They always seem to do very well. Just have a look and see which posts from your competitors, what is working, and see if you can adapt something similar. But again, it depends on your target market as well.
Yep. Thank you, Tim. Another question coming from Mr. Badr. How should a company measure social media marketing success? And I'm curious about this. Do you think that it is good, to track the activities, in a time, for promoting the activities, the products, or we should, just measure and see the success in the end of every project?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a difficult one, isn't it? Because people might see your activity on social media, and they might, I don't know, ring you up later on, and you don't know quite where they've come from. So it's very difficult to track. I think it's easier perhaps if people are going directly from social media to your website. Then you can set up the analytics, as we said before, see where people are coming from. And I suppose, as I was giving the example before with my own activity on LinkedIn, it's just hard to know. You connect with people, and they may not respond straight away. And how do you measure that? I don't know. But I say it's easier if you can sort of definitely have a look at the analytics and measure it that way.
Use the analytics.
But is that what you? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for that answer. I have a question coming from Sanyasi Biswal. What are the threats for us as we are more exposed to various social medias, in this COVID-19? What are the most, usual threats for us for using these platforms?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there is a big threat. I don't know if anybody uses Zoom. I know it's not so big in the Middle East, but over here, Zoom, the video conferencing software, there have been people, which I haven't seen before, but people breaking into other people's meetings and being quite obscene as well. So it's a big threat. And I think there is, we are on social media more at the moment. So I think it does open up cybersecurity issues, in my view.
I see. I see. Tell me, Tim. I have a very interesting question coming from Asila. Should you change your strategy for using the social media during this time of crisis? Should we,
Yes,
change the whole strategy of our approach?
I think so. I mean, again, it depends who you are aiming at. I gave the example before of this foot company that I've been working with. We've had to change our tweets to reflect what's going on in lockdown. But that's why it's so important to have keep an eye on what people are saying, what your customers, what your stakeholders are saying, and then try and tailor your messages, as a response to what's going on.
Right.
Make them relevant.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for your answer. I have another question coming from Farah. What are the most important insights to take into account according to you? What are the most common, and most important insights to take into account, to show to be shown to the audience?
I'm not quite understanding the question there, I must admit, but
I think Farah is thinking what are the most important insights from our life and from our work that should be shown to the client, potential clients. Yes.
From our own personal lives, what can we share? Is that right?
Yes, I think Farah means that.
Yeah, our personal. Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is something that I struggle with myself. How much do we share now on social media as part of our marketing? And it's really hard, actually, to know. And it is up to you, but it does help, I think, if you can share. You just be kind of natural and share some personal insights. I mean, I know that when I put up posts myself saying that I'm going for a run or going for a walk, that people like all that, and I get quite a good response, and it does build the relationship up. I'm not putting up all of my, personal life up on social media. I'm quite private, really, but I know some people do, and I guess it does help with the relationships. But it's up to it's up to you. Up to your, again, what the target audience are.
Comfortable. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Tim. I have another question coming from IAS. How to decide which post is good to post on social media? Because sometimes I feel it is good for me, but not for others, not for the audience. So according to you, how can we decide which post is good for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, this is where you need to kind of have a look back and see which posts have done well, and just as long as you are following your brand guidelines, you've thought about who your customer is, your kind of the people people in your social community are. As long as you can't keep the kind of the viewer, if you like, in mind, just try these things and see what works. You might not want to be too controversial, but just test it and see what happens.
Right. Thank you, Tim. I have another question coming from Dunia Alyami. She's saying that she can, see that most government institutions are focusing on social media by using the social media. But do social media is considered the best channel to communicate, especially in this period while this crisis is still up there?
Yes, absolutely. With the kind of the fake news and all that sort of thing.
Yes.
Like all organisations as well, and actually, what you might not know is that I did a lot of work, a lot of crisis work with the UK government during various big crises, So I know what it's like on the government side. The thing is just to try different channels. And in the UK, there are lots of, of course, lots of messages on social media from the government, but also we're hearing lots of messages on the radio, on the TV, on signposts and so on, just to try and get people engaged and connected. So don't just rely on one channel. A good message anyway, isn't it, for our marketing? Don't just rely on social media. Use different channels all the time. See which ones work.
Right, Tim. I have another interesting question coming from Shoaib Ahmad. According to you, Tim, what is the best social media platform for using?
It depends. I know it's the same answer I keep giving. It depends where your audience is. So there's the answer there. Where is your audience hanging out?
Yeah.
So perhaps if you're B2B, maybe LinkedIn is a better platform to use. But equally, if you're running a local business, maybe there's a local social media platform that might be better to put your efforts in. As I say, it just depends where your people are hanging out.
According to you, Tim, is it good, to use the same exact post for posting on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn?
I mean, you've got to change it a bit because of the restrictions. 240 characters, whatever it is, on Twitter and so on. Yeah, probably you should change it and adapt it to the particular channels, but it depends on your resources, doesn't it? What time do you have? If it's just you on your own, then I would have thought it's quite time consuming, kind of rewriting the same post all the time. But I mean, in an ideal world, yes, you would be adapting it for each particular channel. Right,
Tim. I have another good question coming from Shoaib Ahmad. According to you, Tim, how social media platform can be useful when some industries are collapsing? So how we can use the most effective social media platforms in these periods?
So this is on behalf of companies that are closing, is that right?
Yes, I guess.
So if I mean, I think all you can be is to just be honest and upfront, and respond to what people are asking, and show kindness as well. It goes a long way. And if there are negative thoughts, to try and take them, as we said before, to try and take them away from the platform as well, just to deal with things in a nice way.
Right. Thank you, Tim, for that answer. I have very good question coming from Haider Yahia. As you know, Haider is saying many companies are searching social media before hiring. Is there any way we can, and I will add here, we should hide our social media information?
Yes, that's very true. They are. They will be looking at your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook, your Twitter. So I always be careful what you post on social media once it's up there, once it is out there. So your nights on the town, perhaps having drunk too much, you might not want to post, for instance. So just remember, your posts can be searched, and people will be building up some knowledge about you. It's human nature, especially now. So just be careful.
Right. I'm sure Haider will be careful of this. Let's find some another interesting question.
Is anybody? I'd just love to know if anybody how they are doing their social media at the moment. Have they got much business from doing during this COVID period? is social media using, are they doing anything creative on social media?
Yeah, feel free guys to add this, to add your questions, answers in our question box.
Because we're all kind of learning. All of us are in this together.
Yes. Tim, I have a very good question coming from Hannah Gonzalez. Is boosting a post can really translate to sales? Or if I can ask here, how much our posts on the social media can increase our sales?
Again, depends on the target market, what platform you're on, and so on. But yeah, I mean, it can. I do recommend, despite this kind of this strange period that we are in with COVID 2019, to still put out those posts saying what you do, using those call to actions, because people are still buying and using services.
Right.
But you need to kind of make sure that you keep your community engaged, grow your community, your social media community, build up that kind of the brand awareness, if you like, and then sort of go in and put these kind of call to action posts. And I always think that people will, once you have people into a community, you've already built that trust, and there's more chance that they will then go on to buy your items. So yes, you're right. Just keep those kind of direct selling call to action posts going, in my view.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for your answer. I have a question coming from Mohammed Al Maudi. He is saying how to build a competition for your followers if your business is retail, like supermarket. Do you agree that there should be attractive prices?
At the moment, my goodness, I've not seen that, I must admit, in the UK. I don't know where you are, Mohammed. I've not seen different, people being particularly persuaded by prices at the moment. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts, anybody else's thoughts on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, ordinarily, you're absolutely right. Pricing is such an important thing. I think there are other drivers at the moment, like safety and all those kind of areas.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tim, for that answer. Let me just search for some good questions here. So, if I can understand, you're strongly recommending using the social media and being maybe more active during COVID-19 period.
Absolutely, yes. It's good for. I mean, people, as we said before, people are looking to be part of something, part of a group, part of a community. Right. So the key takeaways really is to be active on social media, listen to what your clients, your customers, your stakeholders are talking about, respond to them, try and take conversations away from the social media platforms if they are negative, share positive stories, share personal stories as well. Videos, very good, include call to actions, and let's say people are still interested in buying, maybe not at the moment, but later on. So it's so important to make sure that that you keep up the brand awareness on social media at this moment, and be kind. People are going to remember you being kind. They're going to remember your brand, and you're going to get, I think, recommendations through word of mouth.
Right. I have very good question coming from Miss Asila. According to you, Tim, how did the audience change during these times? They were usually raise donations for their non-profit organizations through the social media accounts every year this time. But they are facing some issues and not getting enough donations this year. So according to you, is this because there is so much noise in the social media? How much the audience change in this time?
Yeah, that's I think it's still very early days, but you're right. There is so much noise at the moment. That's why it's so important to be active and to be creative as well. To really stand out and to. I think people will notice you if you are kind as well. But I think it's too early to say at the moment what impact that's having.
Right. Yeah. I have some questions that we already answered, but if you want, Tim, you can just repeat them. I have a question coming from Anna Corisia, saying how often should a post be done in a company social media page? I guess Anna is running these activities. So once a day, twice a week, how not to be too pushy and too aggressive with postings?
Yeah, that's right. We did kind of touch on this earlier. The key is to be consistent and to be active. It depends on who your target market is. I know we keep saying that, and also your resources as well.
Right.
But as a rough rule of thumb, maybe you could post every other day. There's no, that's only a personal thought. But make sure that you are kind of monitoring your social media on a daily basis, just so you can deal with any negative criticism, and also to interact with your community as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, Tim. I have a question coming from Mr. Mutab Al-Talibi. He is saying during this crisis, people are getting sick of hearing about COVID and they want to see something more entertaining. According to his opinion. So is posting about the COVID now might get his business engaged at this level, or I don't know, he needs to post something more entertainment without COVID.
I think you're right. Yeah, I do agree. I think again, it's only my own view, but we know what's going on. It's very depressing. But I think this is the time now to do some positive stories. If you can find some positive PR opportunities, I think that will resonate with your audience on social media.
Right. I have a question coming from Ms. Hannah Gonzalez again. According to you, Tim, is it better to post a product video or poster? What is the proper way for promoting your product on social media while you are running your company?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It really depends. You have to kind of listen to your own social media audience, what people are expecting. So, for instance, if you were doing face masks, then that product would be good, wouldn't it, to promote on social media with a kind of video. But if you were trying to sell a car with a video, for me, I just don't think it's the right time to be actively pushing products like that aren't so relevant. Try and think about what the audience are talking about, what they're thinking about. It depends, really, doesn't it, on who, what your product is.
Yeah,
if it's relevant to them.
Thank you for that answer, Tim. I'm just looking for another interesting question.
Are there any kind of questions, or has anybody said how they're doing with how they are using social media? Is it working for them?
Yes, I have one question coming from Farouk Mohammed Ali. What is the healthy and effective social media related news and analysis website you recommended to keep an eye on for the news and updates? According to you, what is the most the proper website for tracking, and staying in touch with the global news, and also any particular application or tool for social media management that is cluster free and easy to use and effective.
Right. Okay. So for tracking for global news, I suppose it has to be the kind of the reputable kind of news agencies, doesn't it? Really, you could sort of follow the BBC News or for instance, that's reputable. But you might want to get your news from different sources as well, just to make sure, just to kind of give a good a reference guide for yourself. Sorry, just repeat the second part of the question again.
Right. The second part was
tracking, wasn't it? Analytics.
Yeah. If there's some particular application or tool for social media management that is cluster free,
Yeah, I mean, there's loads. It depends again on the social media platform. We use, I mean, there's all sorts of things. A tweet deck, for Twitter and so on. But to be honest, we just go, for myself, as a company, we just go on. We don't use any particular sort of scheduling tools at the moment, because I think things are sort of changing all the time. You need to be quick to react. But that's not to say that we don't have an idea of the type of content we're going to post, and also a content kind of plan as well.
Right. Yeah.
Frozen there. My picture is frozen.
My picture?
Yeah, it's my picture. I can see.
Yours is good. Yours.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my one is
perfect.
frozen.
It's perfect. Tim, I have a question coming from Ayman Al-Shahati. If you can give any advice for startup marketing agencies which begin during the Corona pandemic, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, in fact, that's a very good question. In fact, I started my own marketing agency during a recession, so it's a good time. Yeah, at the moment it's to build the brand awareness, isn't it? Really, find out where your potential customers are. Make sure that you are very niche as well. Is my advice. Don't really know who your target market is. Be on the platforms, and just try and build engagement, ask questions, share useful, relevant content, use videos, bit of personal stories as well. Just building that community, building that trust, building the relationships, and then and occasionally you might want to throw in a call to action as well. Try and get people perhaps to sign up for a webinar or onto a mailing list or something as well, along with the GDPR guidelines as well. Mm-hmm. Doesn't feel right for direct selling, as we've said right through this.
Right. I have a very good question coming from Maria Plonik. What goals can should be reached and set for each of our social media accounts?
Well, again, it depends on your business, what your aims are. Do you actually want to take on new customers? Do you want to increase your followers? It's the old SMART thing, isn't it? Be specific, make sure your goals are measurable. Can you achieve them? Are they attainable? And make sure that they're on time as well. So think about what you want to do in the end, and then kind of work backwards, and then you can break it down into smaller goals and get those KPIs set up as well.
Right, Tim. We are approaching the end soon, so I'm just picking some interesting questions here. According to you, Tim, I have questions coming from Salazbel Al Sultan. Do you recommend paid advertising and using influencers? What kind of influencers would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, this is it. That's a very good marketing tool influencers. I think we're going to see more of that increasing. And in fact, I did come across a website last week where you can get popular actors and TV presenters to actually help you with your campaigns to be influencers. It depends, doesn't it, on who you're aiming at, who your target market is, who those influencers are. But yeah, I think it's a really good way. Really, it's a really interesting way of marketing, and worth looking at if it's right for your market.
Right. Totally agree with you, Tim. If I can see here, I have a very simple question coming from Donna, but it's very important, to repeat and to explain why social media professionals should attend a training program, should attend a training session. Why is that, important for them, first of all, and in the end of the day for the company?
Yeah, good question. I mean, do you want to answer that on your side of things?
You are the expert trainer of this field, so I think that they will believe you more on the answer. Yes.
Well, I suppose it's the short answer is that it's sharing our expertise. We've got a lot of expertise in managing social media accounts for lots of different organizations and businesses, some very small, some global organizations. We can share what's worked for us, what's worked for all these different organizations, and also to kind of share with you good practices and things that perhaps don't work, that might get you thinking twice, and also how to make your social media marketing work for your business, for your organization. And I'm sure there'll be lots of tips and tricks that you'll be learning because of if you do attend one of our courses.
Yeah, I guess this simply adds some more value of the whole the career.
Making your marketing,
yeah, correct.
Yeah, making your marketing spend go further. So yeah, we can do a bit more detail than we have done today.
Right. Tim, I think we are running out of time. Iftar time is approaching us very soon, so I think that this can be the last question for today. Dear all, I would like to on behalf of LEORON Group, Mr. Tim Mitchell and myself, of course, it has been a grand pleasure to have you all today, and we are honored that you attended the social media during COVID-19 live webinar. We hope we have met and even exceeded your expectations, and you have gained as much value from this experience as possible. As I mentioned earlier today, before the starting of this webinar, you will receive your certificate on your emails very soon. Also, a small present from our side for all of you here today will be delivered in those emails, so take a good look, because the present can be used for the next upcoming training event. We hope that you have enjoyed the program and that our collaboration will not end here. As you can see on the last slide of the team's presentation, Tim, if you can just show us the last slide of your presentation. There's all the details for the upcoming 3-day live official training session for the certificate in social media international training program. The event is with a limited number of participants. So if you enjoyed today, I want to invite you all to join our next training session. We'll be going to
the platforms, a lot more, the major platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and the others as well. And let's say going into a bit more detail.
Yes. The training event is happening 10 days from now. So you can write down my email address. It is nikola.nikolowski@leoron.com. Feel free to reach me anytime. I will be glad to assist you all with information, details, and of course to sign you up for the event. We look forward to seeing you again. Yeah. Ramadan Kareem for all of you celebrating. Have a nice day and weekend ahead. Team, if you want to add something, feel free to do.
Yeah, I just it's going to be very much an interactive 3-day course as well.
Yeah,
we're going to be doing. I think there's going to be 3 sessions, kind of similar to this, but very interactive. Getting your ideas. It's going to be great fun as well. You're going to get loads of information, useful tips, and practical things that you can use straight away to help you with your social media as a marketing channel, and yeah, really good way of getting more business to you.
It will be great. Yeah. It will be great. Yeah, especially that we conducted a lot of this certificate in social media training events previously. But as we all know, the social media platforms are updating on daily basis. So it is good to stay fresh, to stay on track with the latest strategies, latest and the best approaches. While promoting your products, promoting your activities, and running your campaigns. Again, feel free to write down my email address. I'm going to be available for all of you anytime. Feel free to approach me. Again, have a nice day and weekend ahead. And of course, stay safe. That's all from my side. Thank you, team. Thank you, and enjoy your day.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much for all those wonderful questions. Stay safe. We're all in this together, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you do with your social media, sharing tips on our course very soon. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, team. Bye-bye.